Hi, good afternoon, it's Gene from the Mathstar Observatory. In this video I just wanted to have a look at the general health of our planet right now, and starting with the temperature, we'll have a look over the ice caps, starting with the northern hemisphere over the Arctic Circle. You can see that the temperature and the region where the sub-zero temperatures are is very, very small compared to probably the last couple of years. I think it's a lot smaller than what it usually is. The temperature in those regions is around about 12 degrees where the pointer is at the moment, and then 0.6 degrees, so almost 0 degrees here. So not very cold, and the area which those sub-zero temperatures are covering is not very vast at all. But if we compare that with the Antarctic on the southern hemisphere of our planet, it's quite a different story. Now I just want to explain why that is. You probably already know that at this point in time, the northern hemisphere is situated on its orbit around the sun, at its tilt, angled towards the sun, so it is receiving a lot more solar radiation at this time, and therefore keeping them sub-zero temperatures being in a lot negative numbers, higher negative numbers, if you get that, what I'm trying to say. Let's just have a look over the southern hemisphere. You can see there's a big difference straight away. In the darkest purple regions we've got minus 61 degrees Celsius, nearly 1/5 more colder than the northern hemisphere. You can also see the region in which it's covered down there is much vast compared to the northern hemisphere, and again it's the same reason for the northern hemisphere being warmer. It's the opposite for the southern hemisphere. At the the approach around the sun at this point in time of the year, it puts it further away from the sun, so it puts it also for that reason in the winter. I wanted to compare the jet streams with regards to these temperatures on there, so we're going to do that right now and have a little look at that and see what's going on in terms of jet streams. I predict, before I go on there, that we're going to see a lot of fragmentation and very thin, slivery jet streams over the northern hemisphere, and very strong super jet streams over the southern hemisphere. But let's see if that is the case. So as I predicted, that seems to be the case at first glance. If we just go straight over the Arctic Circle, you can see those thin, whispery jet streams. Again, no real distinction between the polar jet streams or the subtropical. We're getting a lot of merging, and that is really because of the sine wave of these jet streams. The weather patterns are changing dramatically at the surface level. For instance, you might feel hot enough to take your jumper off here in the UK at around 52 degrees latitude, but at the same time a couple of hours can pass and you feel like you've got to put that jumper back on. We are getting some real dramatic changes in the weather, where one day it is 20 degrees or even more. It's like tomorrow here in the UK is predicted to be 25 degrees or even warmer, and we'll just see how that day pans out. I bet you before the day's out it has dropped to around about 10 degrees or even gone a little bit lower at some points in the day. That's the new norm that we're getting used to, and it wasn't the case 30 years ago. This wasn't. Another thing that we're starting to notice here, central UK or central England, is the sundogs that are forming through the cirrus clouds that are being brought down in these jet streams from the Arctic Circle. And basically cirrus clouds are clouds that contain ice crystals, and just around before sunset, if you look at the sun, you'll see like these big rainbow balls falling left and right of the sun, and then if on some occasions you get one form directly above, and this is an anomaly that's more associated in the Arctic Circle, not at these latitudes where we are here in the UK. So let's just have a little look at the southern hemisphere. As I predicted, huge, wide superjet streams Couple of polar jet streams in there, but not like it used to be. There used to be a continuous ring around the polar region of around about 60 degrees, and then 30 degrees you get your subtropical jets, and that would be the same for the northern hemisphere, and it just isn't the case anymore. You know, we are living at a time where our jet streams are acting abnormally unusual and, you know, appear to have broken down, and it's a very serious matter because, you know, as you know, farmers rely on these jet streams throughout the seasons of the year to be in some form of fashion where they are predictable, and it's when they fall out of that predictive path that, you know, farmers start to take gambles. When that starts to happen, they lose crops. When they lose crops, there's a big knock-on effect. You know, they almost lose the property if they don't lose it already, and, you know, that means less agricultural production in terms of crops appear in our shops, and we start to notice the prices increase because, like anything that is, you know, at a premium or, you know, not so much at a premium, it is reflected by the price. If something's in ample amount, then obviously the price goes down, but when it becomes rarer, it goes up, and that's why, you know, prices of gold are, you know, remaining high at the moment. But yeah, it's not looking good, and as I've said before, you know, we haven't reached equilibrium yet. Just one thing I want to mention before we go any further looking at some of the other anomalies that are taking place on our planet is that our magnetometer now has been released out of border control in Canada, and it will be with one of our superstars who's going to be managing that for us within the next week or so. So, you know, Canada is shortly to come online, and the data will be fed up to the website as usual, guys. One other thing I want to say is that, you know, it is difficult times here at the observatory with regards to raising funding. You know, we're seeing now a 50% reduction of funding from this time last year, and I can only say that it is something probably related to, you know, this BS with association of this pandemic that we're in right now. And I you know, I just get frustrated with it all, you know, and, you know, not only is it affecting people's livelihoods, affecting people's businesses, and obviously affecting ourselves here at the observatory, because when the funding dries up, you know, then things just grind almost to a halt. But, you know, there are people losing their houses as well, and I just wonder, you know, where this is all going to lead to. And, you know, it's like a lot of things right now, nothing has hit equilibrium. We haven't even got through half the world's population of you know, having this virus, even if it exists. You know, it's crazy. You know, are we talking of deaths through common cold, or are we talking about COVID-19? It just really frustrates me at the moment, because there is now equally weighted arguments either way. And, you know, the only thing that is very noticeable is the people that are losing the jobs and the redundancies that are taking place, and shortly the losses of not just income but also, you know, people's livelihoods and homes. You know, it is a terrible time, and, you know, it's not just related and isolated to one country, it's global, like a lot of things are at the moment. So maybe this is the new norm that we've all got to live with, or at least for the short period of time until we at least hit equilibrium. It is something I talk about a lot. You know, we've not hit equilibrium with grand solar minimum, we've not hit equilibrium with the magnetic pole reversal, and, you know, we've not hit equilibrium with the climate change which is taking place dramatically on our planet right now. So things, unfortunately, guys, as you are adult enough to understand this, are still going to get progressively worse. There's nothing we can do about it until we start to at least hit equilibrium, and at that point things might get better in these things that we talk about. Anyway, let's move on with some of the other anomalies that we monitor here at the observatory. So as we talk about the grand solar minimum a lot, you know, the reason for it being a minimum is because of the lack of sunspot activity on the disk. As you can see, there is the geomagnetic field is quiet, and there are normal solar X-rays. In fact, when we look at the KP index, it is low. There is nothing really taking place with our sun. And it should be the case, because we are in at the moment a grand solar minimum, as we have come to the end of solar cycle 24. Again, another item which we look at, or another anomaly that we are looking at, that hasn't quite yet reached equilibrium. We don't know whether solar cycle 25 is going to get started because of the low solar output. I mean, just looking at these last 3 solar cycles, you can see that the sunspots have been dropping off exponentially over the last 33 years, of the last 3 cycles. And you just wonder what sort of condition the heliosphere is in as a result of that, because that really is what I'm mainly concerned about with this grand solar minimum. Because if the heliosphere is weak, it means it's going to allow more cosmic radiation in to our solar system, and as a result of that, it will interact with the upper atmosphere of our planet. And the longer the solar output is minimal, the longer we will have more cosmic rays coming through our solar system, which is really the first line of defense for our planet and all the other planets within our solar system. The second line and primary defense of our planet is the magnetosphere, which is almost weakened, to a point of about 20%. So we're suffering from 2 anomalies, which is creating the same problem for us here on Earth. We've got the weakened heliosphere and we've got the weakened magnetosphere. Both our fields are weakening, and as a result, more radiation is coming inbound. So until we start to see a shift in that, then we're not going to see any improvements. Just before I move on off the topic of the solar constant, I just want to show you a chart, because if you look at solar cycle 24 on this chart and then compare it where I'm showing you the next one, you'll see that something has changed dramatically with solar cycle 24. And if it doesn't start to improve, then the levels of cosmic rays are going to increase. As a result, we'll get different modifications to those jet streams as they become more laden with more water vapor, and as a result of that, we'll have further disruption with the standard seasons on our planet, which again, as as I already said, starts to disrupt agricultural production. It also knocks good agricultural arable land offline, and these are the things that we're seeing on a regular basis. We can't overlook the fact that hundreds of farmers in places like Pakistan and India are killing themselves as a result of crop failures and not being able to repay those loans that they've secured their farmlands on, that has been passed down generation after generation. This is something we're going to start seeing more of in these Western countries over the coming years if things really do not start to show changes. This day and age, farmers are just like everybody else. They take loans on the fact that they are going to get crops out the ground and crops in the ground, and when that fails, they don't meet the payments, just like in the Middle East. And as a result, we will start to see the same thing happen. It's a lot of sadness on the horizon for these people, and I think more awareness of what is taking place could be a good thing for these farmers. If they understand why these changes are taking place, if they understand a little bit more that we haven't reached equilibrium, so perhaps not a good idea to take such gambles on putting crops in the ground when it's not even a predictable year ahead with regards to getting those crops back out of the ground and making profits. So there's a lot to take in. There's a lot of knock-on effects as all these changes take place, and that's really why I'm passionate about what we do at the observatory, because hopefully this information does fall into the hands where they can take direct action and avoid some of the problems that are to come, and just take on board that, you know, things are going to get worse. We're not in a period of time where they're getting better. We haven't hit equilibrium in any of these things we've talked about at the moment. Now I just want to point out something I have done a few times, but I don't think people have realised the importance of what I'm trying to show them is the three vertical lines that you see on this chart, on this space environment overview, that was taken in 2014. That is regardless, because the information we need to concentrate on, which is the most important part of this chart, is there in 2014. And that is, if we look at the first two solar cycles where the red vertical lines are, we'll see that these lines are situated in the solar maximum periods. And then if we just take a look over at solar cycle 24, obviously you will notice that the solar cycles are diminishing as they go along, because we saw that very clearly in the last chart that we was looking at. But the important data here is on the cosmic rays pattern during these vertical lines. You will see that at solar maximum we have always recently, over these two solar cycles 22 and 23, had enough protection from the heliosphere being inflated even at those dwindling points to push away cosmic rays to that level that we see where they fall behind the midline. If we look at solar cycle 24, you will see it's above the midline, and for that reason solar cycle 24 shows us something that we've not seen in all the other solar cycles. That is a vast increase in cosmic radiation even during solar maximum, and that really is, guys, very alarming. That's something we need to take a lot of thought over, because right now, if you could see the levels of cosmic rays that are inbound, they would be double probably what we see in between solar cycle 23 and 24. Means we're at the minimum. And as you can see in the troughs of these solar cycles, so after the maximum we go into the minimum, which is the bottom of the trough, you will see on the cosmic ray chart from solar cycle 22 to 23 an increase, from 21 to 22, and from 23 to 24 it is doubled, if not tripled. So you can imagine why it's probably purposely done, and we don't see a space environment overview for 2020, because if we did, we would see the overwhelming influx of cosmic radiation now. And like I say, it is down to those two anomalies coinciding with each other at the same time. That is the weakening of the heliosphere for low solar output, and it's also due to the fact that we've got a weakened magnetosphere due to the magnetic poles going for a reversal. So you get hopefully a grounded view of why it is important, guys. And obviously I hope that you do understand that it is going to start affecting more of us on a personal note. But the strange thing about all this is that a lot of people aren't interested in the topic, because for a lot of people science goes straight over the head. For a lot of people, at the moment they've got too many other things on their minds, and therefore they really would rather keep their head in the sand and not hear these things. And for a lot of people, they just don't understand it, or it's a boring topic. But these are the people that just take for granted the sun rising, and on the night time the moon popping up. You can understand it. It's not for everybody, and it is for that case that less than 1% of this world's population are actually in the knowledge of those two anomalies taking place coincidentally at the same time. So guys, I have to mention the link, guys, where you can support this work that we do at the observatory. And I have to also emphasize the fact that the reason why we are not just talking about it, but we're more proactive, is because we have equipment in the field, and we are continuously trying to get more equipment in the field. And the only way we can do that and invest time in doing what we do, running the website, running the channel, is by funding. And it's a public funded website, so it can only come from the public, you guys. Let's hope that we can make a little bit of a difference before the end of the month's out. I know we haven't hit that target we wanted to. We're well off that, and but if we could just make a little bit more of a difference to raising a bit of revenue for the website, then that would be great. And again, it's not mandatory, all right? So you don't have to, but obviously if we don't raise cash, we can't do what we do here at the observatory. It's as simple as that. Anyhow, guys, have an amazing day. Look after your loved ones, and stay tuned for more updates on what's going on with regards to these two anomalies that are coinciding. As always, bye for now.